getting lifted. Fire truck. 어디 봐 Mr. Farmer on the floor 부르지펴봐 열기를 식혀줄게 불만이 가득 잠궈도 화끈하게 저 siren 소리에 느끼는 내 기분은
말썽 빼는 척은 곤란 Hey 미지근한 분위기는 no thanks 흔들리는 내 달궈진 backseat 세운 뒤 빈틈없이 we get lit
Hands up if you're feeling the vibe now One step, two steps
오늘 밤 너와 나 모두 다 빠져들지 언제든 달려가 소방차 You can call me
몸을 움직여 Pick it up 리듬 느끼는 대로 흔들어 뜨거워지는 순간 크게 소리쳐
Fire truck Yeah, being there everywhere 부르기만 하면 돼 Look it out 그냥 불장난 같아 Blink 나만 나타나 Just blink for me 시원하게 네 화를 불어줄 테니 Just hold up 작두나 밀면 다쳐 get higher 열기에 맞춰 rocket처럼 뜨거워 익어가는 폭발하기 10초 전 Hands up if you're feeling the vibe now One step, two steps
짜릿한 이제 막 니만 봐 불태우지 외쳐봐 소방차 어디든 달려가지
맥시멈으로 turn it up
리듬에 맞춰 흔들어
전율 느끼는 순간 크게 소리쳐
Fire truck Fire truck Fire truck
멈추지 마 밤이 새도록
맥시멈으로 turn it up
Alright 이 음악 속에 모든 걸 던져
That's my party people
서방차 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 서방차
Hey, Steve.
Hi.
Hey, everybody.
I got a text message says my DoorDash code is this, and I didn't order anything.
Did somebody order you some cereal?
Don't know.
Hmm.
And I don't know it's DoorDash, so I don't know what it is.
Welcome in, everybody. It's not a Lego stream. It's a book club stream, but I felt like listening to that song. So
Yeah.
Hope everybody's had a good today's Tuesday. I took the day and spent some time with the parents today.
Nice.
Did some stuff with them.
Very
them.
nice.
Yep. I didn't even think I should show this, but I could show this. I got 2 new candles today, Steve.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. We went to the mountains and got some apples.
Very nice.
And the apple place had candles that they make there. This one is
Very nice.
Honey Crisp apple, and it smells just like apples. And then this one is caramel apple. Hey, look, there's a website there too.
Ooh.
But they smell really good. And I got a fall one, but put it in the kitchen, I think. So got a whole bunch of apples. Got a half a bushel and 2 pecks.
What does that mean?
A half a bushel is like 20 pounds, and a peck is like 10 pounds. So we got like 40 pounds of apples.
Sounds intriguing.
Mama's going to make some apple butter.
Oh, now that sounds good.
Yep.
I love apple butter. It's good stuff.
Oh, it's so good.
If it's done
it makes
right.
the house smell so good.
Yeah. If it's done right, then it's good.
So let's welcome in. Oh, wow. What happened to my voice?
You okay?
I don't know.
Somebody goose you?
I think I turned 13 there for a minute. Let's welcome in the chat before I go back to 11 years old. Paul Engel, welcome in. Debbie Bernfeld, Jeannie 52573, Mandy V, Stacy Rogers is here. Samantha Lowe, welcome. Jeff Condon, what's up, sir? Good to see you. Christine Hickman, welcome in. Let's see. Joy S is here. Hey, Joy. Good evening. Chris S is here. Howdy, Chris. Let's see. Jill Walkbrick, welcome. I said Mandy V and Katie Y. Good evening to you. Howdy. Brian Eniod, good to see y'all. Hope you're doing well. Jan S. Disney, good evening. Howdy. Let's see. There's Katie Y and Jill and Nathan Rada. Good evening. Mark Langenkamp, welcome in. There is my snickerdoodle, the Daisy Duck to my Donald Duck, the Jasmine to my Aladdin. Hey, Angela. Let's see. She'll be down there soon.
She will.
There's Jeff Condon. There's my kid NYC. What's up, buddy? Crafty Disney Mom. Good evening. Good to see you. In Vogue 79. Welcome. Good evening.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Dixon. Hello. And Nicole. Happy song. I think I said hey, Nicole, but if not, I'll say hey again.
You better say hi to Nicole. She get mad.
Hey again. And I think that's everybody.
Oh.
So, how was your day, Steve?
It was great. Hang on one second.
Good. Yep. And we're going to be doing Gonzo. What's up, brother? Hey, Gonzo. We're going to be doing chapters 3 and 4 of our book, A Twisted Tale, A Whole New World by Liz Braswell. I think, yes. And we're going to try something different tonight. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to wait. He gets a heart? I didn't get a heart. Okay. We're going to do books chapters 3 and 4. We're going to read it tonight and see how that goes. And oh, that's better. Thank you. And yeah. So we're going to read it. I'll read chapter 3. Steve's going to read chapter 4, and we're going to go from there. Jill said apple butter is wonderful on fresh made biscuits. Yum. Yes, that's how we do here, Jill. Mama makes for homemade biscuits, and
I like homemade biscuits.
You load them suckers up with some butter and some apple butter, and you talk about good eating.
Good eating in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Welcome in 100 Acre Wood, and thank you, Katie Y. Joy says, "Oh, good. I only read chapter 3." Well, you're in luck. You only have to listen to me for chapter 3, and then he's gonna take chapter 4. So
Something like that.
something like that.
Are you
So
ready
we're
to do it now? Is that where we start?
That's how we're gonna try it tonight. Y'all let us know what you think after we get done. If you like us doing it this way, if you'd rather just read it individually and then us just discuss it. But we're going to try reading it tonight and see how that goes.
Woohoo!
Fans, welcome in. Good to see you. And yeah. So the first two the prologue and the first two chapters we discussed last week are pretty much the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Up to Aladdin
Nothing really
running
different.
into Jasmine in the market.
Yeah, there was not much different at all.
Not a lot. A little more description. The prologue was
Oh.
different than what was in the movie.
I gotta pull this up.
But the first two chapters themselves, pretty much the little more descriptive than the movie, but that was the basic gist of the movie. Or gist of those two chapters was the first part of the movie, leading up to Jasmine and Aladdin's first encounter in the market when she was kind of sneaking around.
Chapter 1. Chapter 2. There it is. The cost of knowledge. That's you, right?
That's me. That's chapter 3.
Got it.
100 Acre Wood says, oh, nope. 100 Acre Wood says, I'm hiding in my bedroom. There's a 2-inch long wasp buzzing the house. Living alone stinks. Yes, that would. You know, that's not fun.
Wasps are just little bitty babies.
With great big needles on the end of them.
Well, you know, if you don't bother them, they won't bother you.
I like to introduce the wasp to my handy dandy fly swatter.
Let's use spray.
Sometimes repeatedly.
Yeah.
If it wasn't so thick, I wonder how Mod Podge would do against a wasp. Anyway.
Probably keep his wings from moving.
Yeah.
It'd just be a slow crawl to you.
Let's see. Jill says, I'm going to bow out this evening. My book just arrived 2 hours ago, so I need to get caught up. For next week, I'll need to reach chapters 6. Yeah, 6 chapters. So yeah, so next week we'll do chapters 5 and 6.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think we'll get started.
Okay.
And if my tablet will respond. And now it's decided to freeze up.
Did it now?
It did. So let's try this again. Goody. There it is. All right. I got to reload. What are we reading? The Very Hungry. No, Mark. We're reading A Whole New World by Liz Braswell.
Twisted Tale.
A Disney Twisted Tale book. It's the first book in the series. And we are on chapters 3 and 4.
Yes, true.
Chapter 3, The Cost of Knowledge. So here we go. I have never read I've read like some news articles online, but never a book. So here we go. We're going to see how this goes. I feel like I should be showing pictures as I read, but there's no pictures.
Nah.
It's not a comic book.
You got this.
Here we go. Chapter 3, the cost of knowledge. Far beneath the deepest rooms of the palace, a secret workshop glowed red and orange from liquid fire that flowed in the pits around it. Despite the seething, bloody glow, the room was cool, almost cold. Jafar moved around carefully in his enveloping layers of robes, fingers rapping in impatience on the shiny ebon surface of his staff. That's an interesting sentence. He was the Sultan's Grand Vizier and closest advisor, and only friend since the Sultana had died. If the public gossiped openly about the royal princess, they confined their talk about Jafar to the nightmare hours. It was said that he meddled in dark magic, that his cobra-headed staff gave him power over others, that the Sultan was so completely within his control that nothing was out of Jafar's reach. Gossip aside, there were also solid facts about the man. He was the second most powerful person in the kingdom. He seemed to know everything that happened everywhere in Agrabah, and he had, more than a few times, taken people and disappeared them into the dungeons or worse. This workshop was part of that worse. Strange, terrible equipment covered the table Jafar currently leaned over. Rust-colored wood that was carved into cogs and painted all over with ugly names that seemed to whisper when he leaned in close. Black metal that wasn't iron, twisted and spiked in unsettling shapes like a cage around the wood. Scraps of wispy things, torn cloth, spider silk, bloody feathers, caught in its thorns and waved in an unseen breeze like hair underwater. The air in the middle of it all shuddered and ripped like the world itself was being torn apart. In the bleeding black hole, a wavering shape appeared. Jafar leaned closer, trying to make out the image. This was the most forbidden, most esoteric magic known to people of his ilk. Oh, these are words, Steve. Razir Hadanak, the seeing beyond. Wow. Just then, in a puffy, sweaty form, bounded down the final set of stone steps that led to Jafar's secret room. Razul was obviously trying not to appear nervous and saluted as properly as he could muster. You summoned me, Grand Vizier. I need you to find and bring me this man. It is of utmost importance to the Sultan. Jafar indicated the blurry shape in the air with a tick of a long pointed finger. The captain of the guard moved close in small, stuttering steps, trying to keep as much of his body as he could away from the evil-looking equipment. But when he focused on the picture in the air, he lost his nervousness to surprise. That vizier, he's but a boy, a street rat, a petty thief in the markets, nothing more. He cannot possibly cause harm to the Sultan. Jafar raised a sharp eyebrow at the guard's presumption. My magic has foretold of his role in a certain event involving the fate of Agrabah. It is imperative that you fetch him at once, he snarled. Of course, Grand Vizier, Razul apologized, quickly sweeping down in a low bow. When he rose, he saluted to go, chancing one last look around the forbidden workshop. Where's Iago? He asked before he could stop himself. Jafar looked distractedly, already turning his attention back to the device. Your parrot, Razul stammered. You always have him on your shoulder or nearby. Jafar looked out of the corner of his eye, at the guard for one frightening moment. Eating crackers somewhere, I would assume. Yes, of course, Grand Vizier, Razul said with another low bow. Then he hurried out of the room as fast as he could without making it look like it. Jafar slowly tapped his left fingers on the table, one after another, contemplating the image. So, he said slowly to the picture of the boy, you are the only one the ancient powers say can enter the cave and live. Much good it may do you, my diamond in the rough. So that's chapter 3.
It was
Welcome
a
in,
very
G.
short
Wilson.
chapter.
It was. Welcome in, G. Wilson, Jeanette, Sebastian the Crab.
Okay. Oh, you want to talk about that before we move on, or? It's basically an introduction to Jafar.
Basically, an introduction to Jafar, his secret room, and apparently he's looking for Aladdin.
This says there's 29 minutes left in my chapter, so we'll see how this goes. The Agrabah no one sees. You only had like 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Not even 4 pages. 3.
Hey, I can't help it.
My gosh, I got like 20.
You picked the even chapter.
I said I'll take even. You take odd. So when they were what he thought was a safe distance from the market, Aladdin finally collapsed against an old broken water trough. Oh, wow. Did you see his face? He said, cracking up. Boy, was he mad. He must feel so stupid now. He bought everything until you completely ruined it, Abu. Abu seemed to sense he was being criticized. He jumped off Aladdin's shoulder and chattered sulkily. The girl was bent over, hand to her side, panting. After her breaths had slowed to mere wheezes, she pressed the palms of her hands together and closed her eyes. Then she did a series of stretches that were graceful and seemed well practiced. Sorry, Aladdin said. Guess you're not used to running much, huh? Yes, you should be completely sorry for saving me and having my hand cut off. And no, I'm not used to running from people. I do race with Raja, she paused as if thinking of an appropriate word, dog. She was being purposefully vague, not that it took a genius to figure out that she had probably spent her whole life in the woman's quarters of the mansion or estate. Where are we anyway? She asked, changing the subject and looking around. They were resting in the wide intersection between 3 broken down buildings with no particular purpose. There was no one in sight, and the desert breeze blew mournfully through the few dry grasses and weeds that tried to grow in edges of the hard-packed roads. The only other noise was from a fight somewhere nearby, shouting, punctuated by terrible, wet-sounding blows. Aladdin suddenly realized what this must be like for the girl, alone with a stranger in the middle of nowhere, no idea how to get back to wherever she was from. If he had been the wrong sort of person, the more dangerous kind of street rat, that was exactly the kind of place he would have taken her before divesting her of all her valuables. A place no one would hear her scream. Well, I could tell you, but it probably wouldn't mean much, he said, trying to sound friendly. He stood up and whirled his hands as he talked, a perfect tour guide. We've officially entered the quaint residential section of the poorest part of Agrabah. A lot of these streets don't even have names. We just call them the Eastern Way by Hakim's, or the Stinky Alley near the Rat Catcher. The closest major landmark is the old Ottoman mosque over there. Hasn't been used in centuries, except by pigeons and the homeless when sandstorms come in off the desert. The girl was frowning, not angrily, more like she was desperately trying to understand something. Suddenly, Aladdin was saying, so very simply, was eluding her. Something Aladdin was saying, so very simply was eluding her. Where did I lose you? Aladdin asked. Was it pigeon or sandstorm or stinky? Actually, it was homeless, the girl said slowly. People live in the old mosque? Not all the time. It's a little creepy. Some say it's haunted. Hey, speaking of homes, is there someplace I can take you? It was the right thing to do, of course. Save the pretty girl, take the pretty girl home, refuse the reward. All right, maybe take the reward, if there was a reward. Wasn't there usually a reward? Probably in reality, they would take one look at him, grab the girl, and order him off at the point of a pointy scimitar. He hoped she lived really far away, so it would take a long time to get her home. Like in an oasis out in the desert, that would be perfect. He was pleasantly surprised when she shook her head. Show me your home. I want to see where you live. Aladdin found himself blushing, a very unusual condition for him. He tossed his dark hair so she couldn't see. Oh, you don't want to see that. It's nothing special. In fact, it was, in fact, really nothing at all if by home one generally meant 4 walls, a roof, and some sort of door. Come on, the girl begged, having recovered her breath in her enthusiasm. I threw myself down a camel. I threw myself down in camel dung while playing along with you. Do you think I care what your house looks like? That's camel poo for those keeping track. Aladdin realized he was grinning. All right, but remember, you asked for it. He took a quick look around, evaluating the best route. Then he led her around to the back of one of the ancient crumbling houses and began to scurry up in a rickety old ladder. She asked skeptically. Wincing with each rung, she stepped on as if she feared the whole thing would break. What are we doing? Aladdin hopped onto the balcony and offered his hand. She pretended it wasn't there, nimbly leaping once she saw what she was to do. Remember the bit about poor and stinky? I mean, I'm not stinky, but I don't live in exactly the safest part of Agrabah. I figure it's better to get off the streets where we might be seen. What's wrong with being seen? She asked. I don't know. What's wrong with not paying for a piece of fruit and then giving it away? I didn't know, her voice trailed off. That you have to pay for things, Aladdin. Oh, that you have to pay for things, Aladdin finished, smiling gently. All right, it was my first time in the market, she admitted. I never actually bought anything before. I never thought about how it was all worked out. Prices and money and things. You caught me. He couldn't help looking smug. He had been so right when he pegged her as a rich girl in disguise. But the girl narrowed her eyes and gave him the sort of look he usually expected from the widow Gulbahar. I don't see a purse of gold coins on you, smart guy. How do you pay for things? Aladdin found himself, quite possibly for the first time ever, speechless. That's clever of you, he finally said, but that's totally different. I only steal because otherwise I'd starve. So it's all right for you to steal because you need food, but it's not all right for me, who didn't know any better and was just trying to help a little child. Aladdin crossed his arms. All right, yes, you are totally and completely clever. Let's just say that the reason we are going up here on the roofs is because apparently you don't know what stealing is, and I do, and I'm used to that sort of life. Look there. He crouched down on the balcony and pulled her over. Yeah. He crouched down on the balcony and pulled her next to him. In the shadow of the crooked tower, a small group of children and a couple of teenagers sprawled desultorily. They wore rags and had shadows under their eyes. 2 of the youngest tried to play a game with a pebble, tossing it back and forth. The other kids were dusting their arms with ashes, making themselves look sicker than they were. That the moment anyone, and I mean anyone except for another street rat, comes through here, these guys will leap up and surround him or her, begging. And if he or she doesn't give them something, a crust of bread, a coin, or sometimes even if he does, while one child is crying about her hunger, another will be picking that person's pocket. The girl looked horrified. They're all just pretending to be poor? Aladdin chuckled wryly. No, they're not pretending. They're not pretending to be poor or shoeless or homeless or starving. All of that is very, very real. But sometimes it takes costumes and makeup and play acting for people to see the truth that is right under their noses. Excuse me. She watched the children and he watched her face as she tried to process everything he had just learned. She was innocent. That was true. But there was intelligence in those large eyes. She picked up things very, very quickly. It was more than Aladdin could usually say about those who weren't street rats. What a waste for some father to trap such a smart, interesting girl behind a garden gate like a prized animal. Where are their parents, she asked, dead or sick or trying to find work or food? Why can't they? Aladdin watched as she tried to find the words for ideas she had never experienced before. Why isn't anything being done about this? She finally asked, anger in her voice. Oh, come on. Who cares about us street rats? Aladdin asked, a little more sadly than he meant to. The Sultan stays locked up in his palace, playing with his golden toys all day. He only comes out to observe an eclipse or fly his kites. Who knows if he's even aware that half of his city is starving? The girl's eyes narrowed at his mention of the Sultan. He couldn't tell if she was angry at the Sultan as well, or, well, technically, it was worth your head to say anything bad about the Sultan or his household. That never stopped anyone in the quarter of the street rats. There might not have been meat, bread, or water, but there was an endless supply of insults. He thought he was about to say something, or he thought she was about to say something, but the girl pressed her lips together with thoughtful finality. Come on, Aladdin said, jumping up and giving her his hand, trying to lighten the mood. It's not all bad. We've got complete freedom of the streets, and trust me, if you grew up here, you'd never have to worry about walking by yourself anywhere. People would be afraid of you. This time she accepted his hand, maybe because her thoughts were elsewhere. Her skin was soft and her nails short but perfect. Aladdin gave her hand a little squeeze before regretfully letting it go and helping her up the next ladder. You said we, she said slowly. So you consider yourself one of these street rats? Everyone else does, he said a little darkly. But yeah, I mean, I'm poor. I grew up here. They were my friends and family, but I'm not really part of them. Not anymore. Like I said, I just steal to eat. When they can, they steal for profit. I want something better out of my life. That is their life. Not that they have a choice, he added quickly. It's not like anyone is handing out bread or work. It sounds very complicated, the girl said. It didn't sound like a platitude. I didn't think it was, Aladdin said, pausing to reflect. I'm just me, part-time thief and bane of the fruit market. I think maybe there's more to you than meets the eye. She had a tiny wicked smile on her face and had obviously been watching the way he climbed. A strange warmth rushed through him. It was like he couldn't decide whether to blush or show off. He chose neither, turning around to quickly throw himself up and over the edge of the roof. Then he reached down and helped her up. She tripped over her robe as she came over the side, a strange thing from a girl who seemed otherwise so utterly graceful. Aladdin caught her before she hit the ground, or in this case, the roof. She fell into him, pressing her torso against it. What kind of a story are we getting into here now?
I don't know.
She fell into him, pressing her torso against him as she grabbed around his shoulders for support. The heat of her skin burned through her robes, and he felt the softness of her body. She smelled better than anything in the quarter of the street rats, better than anything Aladdin could remember even having smelled, better even than the tiny vial of rose attar that he'd once stolen for his mother, which she'd made him return. When she stood up, she didn't stand away from him. Instead, she kept close and looked up into his face, apparently just as entranced as he was. Aladdin felt like falling to the ground himself. The girl said. He made himself focus on how they would get to the next rooftop. The poles that were usually up there to support clay urns drying in the sun were right where he had left them. Of course, he busied himself with reaching for one. I never thanked you for saving me from that man, the girl finished weakly, managing not to sound too flustered. Oh, forget about it, Aladdin said, meaning it. You looked like someone who needed help as soon as you entered the market. With the skill of someone who, how long is this? My good Lord. With the skill of someone I was making sure I didn't read too many chapters because it still says I got 15 minutes left. With the skill of someone who had long lived on his toes, Aladdin ran to the edge of the building and pole vaulted to the next one. Was I that obvious? The girl asked ironically. Aladdin grinned. There was something wonderful about a girl who didn't take herself too seriously. You do sort of stand out, he admitted. She brightened at his unintentional compliment, eyes glowing prettily. I mean, you don't seem to understand how dangerous Agrabah can be, Aladdin corrected himself, running a hand through his hair self-consciously. He looked around for a plank where he could lay down between the rooftops for her to walk across. But before he could think of some way of changing the subject or staying on this one, the girl had found a pole of her own and leaped nimbly across to him, far, far more gracefully than he had. Her robes swirled around her as she landed like the queen of the jinn, alighting on the golden sands of the desert. I learned pretty quickly, she said with a mock haughtiness. Aladdin was once again speechless. What sort of rich girl was this? One who could leap like a mountain goat and play crazy at a moment's notice? Who had never seen poverty before now? Who had never seen poverty and now, who had never seen poverty before and now, confronted with it, thought about it quietly rather than making rash statements. Who didn't care that Aladdin was a thief except when he applied different standards to her? He was a loner, not a hermit. He had known other girls. Morgiana the Shadow, Aben Bamboo, the tailor's daughter, Nefret with the strange green eyes, who came from the desert when the moon was new to trade trinkets from faraway lands. None of them was like this girl. Come on, he said, holding out his hand. She took it as he somehow knew she would. It's this way. The girl grinned in delight as he took her over boards brittle with dry rot and loose stones, worn down in the middle by countless feet centuries earlier. They entered a tower through a keyhole-shaped window that might have had bright mosaics around it at one time. Everything shiny or worth anything at all had been scavenged decades before. Not even rats lived in this high, desolate place anymore. Well, two did. 2 street rats, if one counted Abu. Watch your head, Aladdin said, making sure she ducked under a gigantic timber that slanted crazily from the center of the tower to the side. You live here? She didn't say it with disgust. She was surprised, impressed. Aladdin had never thought he would be bringing a girl back to his place. I keep getting back. I'm like, where's this thing keep going? Aladdin never thought he would be bringing a girl back to his place who would actually like it. They reached the landing he had chosen to call home. His mother had tried to keep their little hut as welcoming and homey as possible. He honored her memory by trying to do the same now. There were a few threadbare old rugs, some once colorful cloths he had draped over the uglier, broken bits of stonework and used as curtains. There were even a few pillows for sleeping on and a couple of urns for water and, well, just decoration. Yep, just me and Abu. We come and go as we please. That sounds wonderful, the girl said with a sigh. Well, it's not much, but it's got a great view. With a dramatic flourish of his arm, he swept back the curtain, knowing how impressed she would be. Directly in front of them was the palace, a mile away, but looming so large it seemed like they could reach out and touch it. At least a dozen of its golden onion-shaped domes were visible, glowing like suns. The giant formal gates and portcullis glowed lucky royal blue, excuse me, like the sky. The road seemed to lead right from Aladdin's tower through the city to the palace, pushing pesky houses and buildings to either side. Nobody obstructed the road. It had to be kept clear for caravans and deliveries and parades and the horses, litters, and the wagons of visiting royalty. There had been a lot of that lately, what with the princess having to marry soon. The palace looks pretty amazing, huh? Aladdin sighed. Oh, it's wonderful, the girl said, but she didn't walk over to look with him. Instead, she collapsed on the steps that led up to his sleeping pad, wearily resting her head on her hands. I wonder what it would be like to live there, or in any mansion. I'm not picky, Aladdin mused, trying to conceal his disappointment at her reaction. Well, maybe at least he could get her to finally open up about where she was from. All those servants and valets. Oh, sure, people to tell you where to go and how to dress, the girl said, rolling her eyes. It's better than here where you're always scraping for food and ducking the guards, he pointed out. You just said you and Abu come and go as you please. If you were born into a royal family, you'd have to do whatever they told you to do, whatever you were expected to do, and you can't go anywhere. Yeah, well, you can't go anywhere socially when you're a street rat. Our upward mobility is strictly limited. Even if I wanted honest work, no one would hire me for any job, not even for a servant at an estate. And there's no place else to go. Once you're born in the quarters of the street rats, you're trapped, Jasmine finished. Aladdin looked up at her surprised. It was like she actually understood, like she felt the same way. He went over and sat down next to her. She didn't move to give him more room. Their legs touched. He took a couple of apples out of his sash, handed one to her and the other to Abu. Abu rewarded him with happy, raucous chittering, and then did exactly as Aladdin had hoped. He scampered up to the roof of the tower to enjoy the whole thing by himself. The girl pulled a tiny silver dagger out of her clothes and neatly cut her apple into 2 halves, handing him one. He grinned at her and toasted her with his half. So where are you from anyway? He finally dared to ask. What does it matter? She growled. I ran away and I'm not going back. Really? How come? What could be so awful that you would never want to see your mother or father again, or sister or whatever? The girl seemed to soften a little at that. I would love a sister or a brother, and my mother died when I was very young. Aladdin felt something in his heart break a little. What a terrible thing to have in common with a beautiful girl. And my father is forcing me to get married. Her eyes grew hard again. How would you like it if someone told you that you have no choice about who you're going to spend the rest of your life with? She balled her fist in anger. Aladdin found himself stepping back. He could be 30 years older than me, but rich, she snapped at Aladdin, as if it was his idea. He pulled back in genuine fear. He could be dumb, but rich. He could be arrogant. He could treat me like just another possession. I mean, that's how my father is treating me, handing me over like that. He could be cruel. He could be... She stopped herself from saying whatever was next, looking at Aladdin with a little embarrassment, like it was something too horrible to mention aloud. He could stuff me full of babies, one every year. Not that there is anything wrong with babies, like one or two eventually. All I know is that I haven't even reached 20 years yet, and my father has decided that my life, what little I have to choose of it, is over. Aladdin gulped. For some reason, the widow Gulbahar appeared in his head. She wasn't bad at all. But if he was told he had to marry her and spend the rest of his life with her, he also thought about Morgiana. She had a tiny dagger hidden on her too, but it wasn't silver and it wasn't for fruit. If anyone tried to suggest for her marrying anyone against her will, well, it would go very badly for everyone involved. She would never let that happen. That's awful, he said with a feeling. I'm sorry. Just then Abu leapt down from the ceiling. Aladdin watched with concern as the little monkey made a beeline for the girl's half of the apple. Aladdin grabbed the little monkey out of the air and put him on his shoulder, whispering a reprimand. What's wrong? What is he doing? The girl asked. She began to relax at Abu's antics. Nothing, Aladdin said, stroking the little monkey's back. The girl leaned over and tickled Abu's chin. Abu was just outraged at a terrible thing your dad is doing to you. Oh, really? The girl asked with a knowing smile. She pursued her lips in a moo of disbelief. Aladdin felt his chest go weak and his brain go stupid. Oh, yeah, he was just saying how outraged he was that men still control the lives of young women, even in this modern enlightened age, Aladdin said. He was petting Abu, but looking at the girl. He wasn't sure what he was saying, really. He would say anything, keep talking forever, if it kept her looking at him like that. Interesting. And does Abu have anything else to say? She asked, leaning closer. Cinnamon. Her breath smelled of cinnamon. He could even smell her skin at that distance. Though he wasn't one normally prone to poetry, he could only think of a fresh desert breeze that carried a whisper of cypress and sandalwood. He wishes there was something he could do to help. That at least was honest. He wasn't exactly sure how kissing would help her. He just knew it was going to happen or he was going to die. Tell him I just might take him up on that, the girl said, closing her eyes and tilting her head. Aladdin put his arm around her back and prepared for the best thing that had ever happened to him, which was, of course, when the guards showed up. Rasul wasn't with them. His second in command led the attack, and how a man even larger than Rasul with 5 large guards had managed to sneak up the stairways without Aladdin's hearing was a mystery he would have to solve another day. A better question, he realized instantly, was how they had known where he was. Finally, I found you, Rasul's second shouted. And again, really, Aladdin said, leaping up, all this for one loaf of bread? How did you find me? The girl shouted at the same time. The two turned and looked at each other. They're after you, he asked. What about bread, she asked. Rasul's second in command wasn't the sort of person who would let confusion interrupt his orders. You cannot escape. Come now, lest it be worse for you. Aladdin leapt up onto the edge of the narrow stone balustrade that separated his sleeping nook from the city below. He held his hand out to the girl. Do you trust me? He asked. The girl looked confused for a moment. Yes, she said uncertainly. That was enough for Aladdin. Then jump. He grabbed her too slow-moving hand and yanked her up next to him. Then he leapt into the air, pulling her along. She did scream. Who could blame her? They were plummeting from the rosy twilight into deep midnight as they shot several stories down through a crack in the ceiling of a building below them. Their speed was broken by 2 very carefully tied tarps that Aladdin had installed in case of just such an emergency. Their landing was while jarring and painful, was made softer on the piles of sand that had been gathered there by centuries of neglect and wind. Aladdin leapt up immediately, the girl's hand still in his. She was right by his side, also too smart to take a moment to recover. But the door was suddenly filled by an unfortunately familiar silhouette. He appeared too quickly for them to change direction. Aladdin and the girl slammed into Rasul's chest. We just keep running into each other, don't we, street rat? He said with a tired irony. He grabbed Aladdin by his vest, shoving him off to the second squad of guards behind him. Aladdin cursed. He should have realized something was up when the captain of the guard wasn't in the tower with the rest. Rasul had already reconned his hideout and planted himself by the escape route. Irritatingly intelligent. It's the dungeon for you this time, boy. No escape. The girl, somewhat incredibly, began to attack the giant captain. Aladdin and the guards watched with similar surprise as she hit Rasul uselessly in the chest again and again with her small fists. Let him go, she shouted. Well, look at that, Rasul said, tossing her aside as easily as he had the monkey. A street mouse. Aladdin felt his blood boil as the girl tumbled to the floor. The guards began to laugh. Even Rasul chuckled as he turned to go. Unhand him, the girl stood up and swept off her robe by order of the royal princess. Rasul stopped chuckling, and the guards gasped. Aladdin felt his stomach flip. That girl, the girl he had spent the afternoon with, the girl who had leapt off the sides of the buildings and pole vaulted off others, who had charmed Abu and shared an apple with him, was not some rich girl off for a jaunt or running away from home. She was a princess, the royal princess, Jasmine. Her eyes were black and hard. Her back was straight. Her arms hung gracefully at her sides, as if she had too much power even to need to put them on her hips or cross them in anger. Her diadem sparkled. The princess, Aladdin said faintly. It was said that Jasmine was beautiful. It was said that she was quick-witted. Both of these were without question true. It was also said that she was a witch with a tiger for a familiar. It was said she tore her suitors to shreds, verbally and vis-a-vis the tiger, occasionally literally. Princess Jasmine, Rasul said immediately, lowering his eyes and bowing. What are you doing outside the palace and with this street rat? That is none of your concern, Jasmine said. She put her hands in her hips and marched right up to the captain's space, as if he was no more to her than an irritating camel. Do as I command. Release him. I would, Princess, Rasul said. He seemed genuinely regretful. He flicked a look back at Aladdin. Maybe he thought it was all a bit much for a loaf of bread as well. Except my orders come from Jafar. You'll have to take it up with him. Aladdin's heart froze. Why would the Grand Vizier care about Aladdin? Princess Jasmine was apparently thinking the same thing, but she managed to control her surprise, turning the question into a sneer of disgust. The last thing Aladdin saw before the guards hauled him off was her concerned eyes hardening. Believe me, she growled, I will be paying him a visit. That was a long chapter.
Congratulations. You made it to the end of your
chapter.
That
was a long one, man. You got 3 pages, and I got like 30.
Yeah, you did.
So
at one point, I fast forwarded to see how much more you had to go, and I was like, geez.
Yeah, I did it like once or twice. When I went like this, I saw 5 pages. I was like, okay, go back. So that was an interesting. Again, it follows the stories.
Yes.
Almost to a T, even some of the dialogue, but there's a little more detail. There's a little bit more, like her breath smelling like cinnamon and the way her skin smelled of cypress and sandalwood and all that good stuff. It gives you a little bit more in depth. For a minute there, it became a steamy romance novel. I was concerned about what I was reading because I did not read ahead. I'm just being honest.
Mar put at one point, "Is this a Harlequin novel?"
It seemed like it. It seemed very much like it.
Yeah.
So, but no, I mean, we're still at that point though, where your next chapter is a lot longer. So,
we still haven't hit the twist yet.
We haven't hit the twist yet. It's all still the same right now. So,
and like you said, there's a lot more detail than the movie.
And here, I think this is we talked about this last time too, though. We didn't think this week was going to be the week of the twist. We think it's going to be next week because the whole thing is, what if Aladdin didn't get the lamp?
Right.
So the next chapter is called The Cave of Wonders, which is yours. And then the one after that will be mine, is Jasmine and a Genie.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the twist comes. In your story, we're going to find out that Jasmine goes in and not Aladdin. Could be incorrect.
Yeah.
But that's what I think is going to happen.
So we got Cave of Wonders next, and then
But the cool thing about it is, it's very descriptive. They do a great job of describing the stuff. They do a great job of depicting the same things we know, but adding to it to enhance it. Like the onion, giving us better descriptions of the onion-shaped dome. Like you would know what's going on here, and you could visually see what's happening even if you had not seen the movie.
Right.
It paints a great picture, I think.
And like, and the scenes that are similar in the movie, like the scene of him running his fingers through his hair when he's talking to her.
Yep.
I saw that scene from the movie, and him holding out his hand saying, "Do you trust me?" Of course.
Yep.
One of the huge moments of the movie.
I'm sure that's going to play a part later.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
interesting to get more details about the characters in there, like his description of how she smelled and her look and everything is a lot different than the 2-dimensional animated version. So yeah.
I think it does a great job.
And what's funny is I saw the live action one, Steve, but every time I read this, I have the animated characters in my head.
Me too. I 100%. They're both very similar. The live action and the other one are very similar to each other, but this is the same thing. I'm visualizing the cartoon as well because I feel this is meant. This one's made. This book is written for young teenagers. There's a couple moments where I question it, but and I think that they the whole point is you have that visual of the animation, and I think the writer had the animated version when they wrote the book. So that's what I think it plays a little more similar to.
Yeah, the descriptions of her smell and everything, the cinnamon, the fresh smell of her as a breeze across whatever.
Yeah,
was very interesting. But maybe Jeannie says I preferred the animated version. Maybe it's because I've watched the animated version like 50 times. I've only seen the live action a couple of times, but yeah, I still see everything in the animated characters.
Yep.
But I'm enjoying the book.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
So I do have to ask that, like, so which do you guys prefer? Do you prefer to read it yourselves, or do you prefer us to read it on stream like we did?
Yes.
We're trying something new, just to see what you thought. A lot of people don't have time to read it, so this is our time to get together and actually read together.
That's true. The next two chapters are much longer than these two chapters. It looks like
they're not.
They are.
Oh, okay, good. Well, yours is way longer than this.
Mine's way longer. Yours is still about the same length as this one tonight.
Yeah.
So
they do take about 25 to 30 minutes per chapter to read, typically speaking, according to this.
Jeanette said, I read along while you spoke. It's the way I visualize it best. I get that. Joy said, I liked when you read it. I followed along with you. Okay.
Works for us.
Yeah.
We just didn't want to do it if you guys didn't want it that way. So
right.
We want you to be involved with the book club, but at the same token, we want everybody to be able to get the best experience out of it. And a lot of times I feel, I'm not going to speak for Chris, I feel that a lot of you may not have time to read it, and it's the best place to actually do that. I could be wrong.
Debbie likes us reading it out loud. Mike 88 does.
Cool.
So. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll keep doing it this way then.
I like it. You got over 40 people here too, so that's good.
Nicole said she prefers that we read it. Plus, I may catch some things I miss when reading. Yeah. I had kind of pre-read most of my chapter before the stream, but I hadn't read Steve's.
I didn't read either. I'm not going to lie. If we're going to read it here, I didn't need to read it.
Yeah.
I typically don't have to read it, pre-read it to be able to read it out loud. I just go with the flow. If I don't know how to say a word, I make it up. So,
Mara and Robert Dixon both like it. Well, we'll keep doing it this way then. We'll read it here.
The people have spoken.
Yeah. Did anybody else catch anything that we missed? Anything that stood out to you? I thought it was interesting. She didn't even care to look at the castle, of
Yeah.
course. But
I think we knew that was going to happen, though.
yeah. And much like the movies, they both feel trapped in their own separate ways, and
They do indeed.
what draws them to each other.
They do indeed.
So, Aladdin's just about to get a whole different kind of trapped.
But yeah, again, take into account it's about where it's about to get different, though, because we now know that some of the twists are coming, and the story is going to change. So it'll be interesting to see how they do it.
Jeanette says, I think it's interesting they keep talking about the different relationships between the guards, because I just thought the guards were the guards. Yeah. Yeah. We didn't know them much differently.
Yeah.
Krista was going to follow along with us too. And let's see. Debbie says when we're reading the pages, it gives her the sense of an audiobook. Well, there you go.
Oh, nice. Well, we're happy that we could oblige.
Yeah. It is. You're getting a lot more in depth about Razul, the head guard.
Get a little bit backstory.
So cool.
Well, I'm enjoying it, so that's good.
I am too.
I'm ready for a twist, though. I am ready for something that we don't know yet.
This says we have 7 hours and 45 minutes left in the book at this point.
I'm not sure it knows exactly.
I don't either. But yeah. So I'm enjoying it. Should we do puzzle or something else now, Steve, or should we call it a night?
It's up to you.
Welcome in, Jennifer Crusoe. Howdy, howdy.
Hello, Jennifer. I got to hang out with Jennifer last night.
Yep. And you got a cool puzzle from her.
Yeah, I did. It's a Wompopotamus puzzle. It's crazy. Actually, you know what? I'll show the book here. Let me see. So
he's already put the border together on it, Jennifer.
Listen, it is an incredibly quality puzzle too. The pieces are thick. They fit like together. I was telling Chris they fit together like butter. It's just like so simple. And the pictures everything's just really cool. But there it is. There's the Wompopotamus puzzle in front of the castle. So
is the puzzle itself, is it just the image, Steve? It's not that purple border.
It's not the purple. It's just from here, the white, inside the white, just the color.
I like it.
So 500 piece puzzle. I mean, it's, I don't know, 14 by 20 or so. To say on here.
Jeanette missed that. She said that's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know, but the quality of the puzzle is what I was shocked with the most.
Mm-hmm.
How it is a very good quality puzzle.
Nicole said that's why I love Ravensburger puzzles, because of the thickness of the puzzle.
Yeah. And that's not a Ravensburger puzzle either, though.
Mm-mm.
That's a Puzzle U. But that's why I like Ravensburger as well.
Joey thought that was cool. Just Noah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was cool of Jennifer.
Oh, absolutely. They got a good family.
Oh, she'd given me a heads up on that, and I couldn't wait for her to give it to you.
Oh, you knew?
Yeah, I did.
Well.
Yes. This is our new Christmas song. I want a Wompopotamus for Christmas.
I want a Wompopotamus for Christmas.
I have a follow-up to the Baltimore trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. I found my AirPods.
Oh.
So, yeah.
What once was lost is now found.
Exactly. I hadn't been able to find them, and they were found this weekend. So, um, yep. That's what happens when you have a double drink on the plane, I guess. You forget where things go. Um, the Wendy B, welcome in. I think I said hey Wendy, but hey Wendy. Good to see you, dear. Let's see. Yep, got that. Oh, excuse me. Don't know where that came from. So, I had actually used the Apple Find My application a couple of times to check to see if they were still located at the house, and I checked it end of last week, and it said that it was here.
Really?
Like, if it's
So
here,
it still had what's it called?
Bit of a charge.
Like power, yeah, enough to read whatever was in there.
Mm-hmm. I tried to send, because you can make them make a sound, and I tried to do that before, but it wouldn't respond to do that. But yeah. Anyway, Space Mountain Dave, welcome in. Good to see you, Dave. Well,
yes, sir. What do you do? What do you want to do?
That's a good question. I don't have anything set up to do because I wasn't sure how long the book reading was going to take tonight. So we might call it a night tonight, and then maybe tomorrow night after D&T we might glue a puzzle.
Ooh.
So I need to glue the backside of the Lady and the Tramp puzzle.
Nice.
And I can either do another Lego car or start another puzzle. I kind of want to start another puzzle. I got those new ones. Actually, we could do this one in honor of the book.
There you go. Is that which one? How big a piece is that?
That's the 750 piece version.
Yeah, they got like all the way up to 2,000 on that one. So
yeah, that's the 750 piece one.
Cool.
It's okay, Wendy. You're all good. Mar asked if I'm sitting in for Dave. I don't know, Mar.
Oh yeah, we haven't talked about that.
Huh?
So we haven't talked about that.
Haven't, no. I'm sure Steve and Shep will have a lovely stream planned out.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see.
Have you heard any updates from Dave today?
He came home today.
Did he? Nice. Awesome.
He's home. He said he's never been more comfortable. It feels great to be home. He's pretty excited about it.
Good.
So
I just hope he doesn't get home and start overdoing it, because he'll still be.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. We told him the same thing, which is why I think we're gonna have to tell him he can't do certain things that he wants to do with us, and
right.
You just got to take it easy. But yes, he is home.
That's good.
So there's that.
Yep, everybody's happy.
Yep.
Hear the news. So that's awesome. I know that's not just good for him. I know that's good for Brandy and.
Oh, it's good for everybody. Yeah, the kids especially. It's just really nice. It's great that he's back. It's great that they can all do their thing, and he's still. I mean, he's got a long road to recovery still, like 6 weeks or whatever it is, but he will get there. So
awesome.
Yep.
Well, we've got our movies scheduled for the Sunday night stream for
we do
several weeks now.
We do indeed. We have. Do you want to tell people what the whole schedule is, or what do you want?
Let's tell them what the next 2 or 3 weeks got in store.
So this week, this Sunday, we're doing Raya. Oh, no, we're not. We're doing Elemental. We're doing Elemental because it comes out this week. So this week, this
tomorrow
it comes out. We are going to do Elemental. Then we're going to do the following week. We're doing Dodgeball. Chris wanted to get another comedy in, so we're going to do some Dodgeball, which is a great movie. Week after that will be Raya and the Last Dragon. And then we're going to go through our Halloween stuff. So we got 3 movies coming up there that are going to be interesting. Signs. We're going to go back and watch Signs again, followed by Knock at the Cabin, and then Don't Worry, Darling with Harry Styles. We're going to be off on the 29th from movie watching, October 29th. And then we'll return with in the first couple in November are going to be Office Space and Spaceballs.
There you go.
So there you go. Elemental will be this week.
Elemental this week. I wanted to have a little more scary, spooky for October. So Signs is one of my favorite.
Yep.
M. Night Shyamalan movies. We wanted to do The Happening because I haven't seen The Happening in so long. And I feel like a lot of people hate that movie, but it's actually a really good movie. But you can't stream it anywhere. So we went with Signs, and then Knock at the Cabin is one of his newer ones. And it's good. Steve hasn't seen it. I've seen it.
Which one?
Knock at the Cabin.
That is true.
And then Don't Worry, Darling will be sort of our Halloween stream since we won't be here the 29th. That one looks extremely creepy.
Yep.
And there's a lot of stars in that one. You've got, as you said, Harry Styles, Florence Pugh, Chris Pine is in that one, and Olivia Wilde.
That was all. And which one? The
Don't Worry, Darling. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
It's a pretty big cast.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So we're going to do that. And, but yeah, I'm excited for the next 3 weeks for Elemental. Of course, I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen any of the next 3.
Well, I think you'd only seen like 5 or so of the entire list, hadn't you?
I've seen Signs.
But that one we just added, though. I mean, like the original. Sorry, I guess the original ones that we were looking at.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. Well,
it's gonna be real fun.
I think we'll call it a night.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll get back to watching either Clone Wars or Big Bang Theory.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve will finish leveling his Grand Wizard.
Oh, he's a max level. There's no re-leveling him. He's as good as it gets.
He'll continue fighting some evil Dothraki. I don't know what that is.
The Dothraki. Oh no, he's max level. So we don't talk about Bruno.
Be sure to watch out for the Death Eaters.
True that too. True that.
So,
Yep.
I hope everybody has a good night. It's Wednesday. We're halfway through.
It's almost Wednesday.
It's almost Wednesday. We'll be halfway through. So, got that going for us. And
halfway through.
So, hope everybody has a good night and a wonderful day. And we'll see you in the streams. Can't Can't think of anything else. Be sure to watch Joy S tomorrow night at 8 o'clock with Joy and Monorail Molly and Tina, I believe, and this and that tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. And
we are going live, aren't we?
huh?
So that's true. We are going live, aren't we?
Yeah. And then we'll probably be here afterwards, messing around doing something.
Sounds like a plan.
Yep. Nicole says I need to start back on my Game of Thrones. Still mourning.
Oh, she is.
Did you stop after the red wedding? Is that what it was, Nicole? Hope everybody has a good night. Thank you for stopping in. I hope you're enjoying the book and the stream. I know I am. I liked reading it together tonight, Steve. That was pretty cool.
I liked it a lot better this way too.
Yeah.
I think it gave us it gives a little more insight, to what we're doing, and we get to discuss it immediately without trying to remember what happened, especially when things start changing and the twists start happening and all that stuff. So it was good. It was real good.
Hope everybody has a good night and a good Wednesday, and we will see you all soon. Take care. Share a smile with somebody. Love you all. Bye.